All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about identifying chords. It occurred to me the other day that sometimes when I'm learning a song and I don't know the chords of the song, and you'll find probably other people that do this. I don't know. It's a little bit primitive, I know, but I think for me it works to get right to it. I may not have a chord chart and I don't read tabs or anything like that, so I use my ears to identify chords most of the time, pretty much all the time. But one way I do it is if I'm listening to a song, especially if it's a fairly simple, either rock and roll thing or maybe like, an Americana, folk, blues, whatever. What I'll do is I'll just work with my low E string only, okay? I won't even bother with anything else. And I'll just fish around until I find what feels like the chord that I'm hearing as far as the one chord, the basically the root chord of the song. You have to listen for that, of course, but it's pretty easy to know where that is in a song, whether it's a chorus or a verse. So what I'll do is I'll just, I'll use that low E string, and you can do this too, as a way of identifying the chord, the key that the song is in. And it could be a minor or a major, it could be a dominant seven, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can usually identify it by using that low string. So what do I mean by that? So if it's in the key of E, I'm going to know by just hitting that low E string, oh, okay, it's in the key of E. Where's it going to go? Okay, let's say it's a 1-4-5. Well, I know it's going to be E, A, B. And the way we know what chords are happening in the song is because first you have to memorize, E, F, G, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and so on. You got to memorize where those are. And if you have to put a little piece of tape on there until you get it memorized, whatever it takes, say I. But in the meantime, assuming the notes all the way up the neck, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and you've done all of them, okay? So assuming you know all that, you can use that low E string as a little guide, like a little map to tell you where you are. So if the song's in the key of G, let's say it's whatever song it is, so a song that goes like G to D, and maybe like an A minor, say, and then maybe a C, and then back to G. That's a million different songs, right? So what I would do is I would listen. Normally I could hear that, but I would hear that G, and then I might go, okay, it goes a D, so I'd hear that. I know that's a D because that's a D chord, right? And then the A, you go back here to the A note, 5th fret in the low E, and then to a C, which is the 8th fret, and back to the G. Sort of like playing bass, right? I mean, it's no different, except I'm doing it all on one string, so there's a D chord, and then I hear this, there's an A minor, and then I hear the C. So does that make sense to you? Because for me, it's a way to, even sometimes, what I'll do is sometimes if I'm playing with somebody and they go, I got a new song for you, rather than trying to play along and second guess where they're going to go chord-wise, which always sounds like a clusterfuck to me. It's like, there's nothing worse than you're playing a song for someone and they're trying to comp chords over you and they're hitting the wrong chords because they don't know the song yet, right? So one way around that for me is to first listen to maybe a verse and a chorus, let it go around. And this is a good practice anyway. Just get a feel for the song. And then maybe very softly fish around with these bass notes. And whatever it is, you'll find it. And you'll know what chords they're hitting by identifying the bass note that you're hitting on that low E string. So I hope that makes sense to you. And it is a simple thing in a way, but I find it to be in some ways appropriate, especially if you're working with someone, another guitarist or whatever, or pianist or whatever, that they're showing you something. It could be a song they wrote, or any kind of song. For me, it's way less intrusive to just hit that one note softly, and I'm okay. I'm taking note. Okay, it goes there. No, that's not there. It's there. Okay, and that's gonna show me the patterns and the chords that they're doing. And then after that, I now have the knowledge of the chord structure of the song without even looking at a map or a tab or anything like that, or a chord chart or anything. I know just by using that low E string what chords, what the progression is. Now I'm assuming this is not like a deep hardcore jazz song or something like that. That's a whole other conversation. But I'm assuming it's a, like a modern, not modern, it could be modern or just a classic rock tune. You're going to be able to find by and large what chords. Now, whether they're major or minor is another thing. That you have to it might be, so it'd be still the same notes. It's a B of some sort, okay? That you got to listen for. You know the sound of a minor chord to a major and a minor, okay? And I don't know, that's one way to identify the changes in a song, especially in a live, kind of campfire thing or whatever. You're sitting around, it's like, God, I don't want to just like step all over this person, whoever's playing. It's a way to identify the changes without having to say anything. Because you could be in a live situation, again, just could be a hootenanny or sitting around at a campfire or whatever. You don't want to stop the whole thing and say, what's the chords? What's the, you don't even need to ask the key, because you'll know as soon as you hit you'll hear it. You'll hear the right note. When you've listened to it around a few times, you'll hear the intro to the song or the first chord of the chorus or whatever. And so I find that to be in a simplistic way really valuable. So I hope that helps you in terms of identifying chords and just sort of being in a live situation. All right, we'll see you down the road.